And welcome back to Crystal Coast Real Estate Television. I'm Bill Hitchcock, coming to you from the Hitchcock Realty offices located at 7th and Arundel Street, downtown Morehead City. It's time for the market trends and analysis, but before we get going, I want to make sure or bring to your attention our brand new website, crystalcoastrealestatetv.com. There at the website, you can watch the television program. You can watch this market trends and report anytime you want to. We also have some news and information. The Weekly Insider, which is a weekly emailer, you can also access from the website. So go to crystalcoastrealestatetv.com so you can get all of everything that you see right here on television. Now, it is time to get on with the market trends and report. Lots to get into. Very interesting things have developed as we go into midsummer time period. First off, let's talk about the Crystal Coast area. We're going to talk a little bit about the condominium activity. Overall, we've had 948 condominiums for sale this year along the Crystal Coast. That's 18% less than the same time period last year. Number sold, we've only sold 65 condominiums this year, which is 21% less than the same time period last year. The average sale of price of a condominium, and this tends to surprise people, is only $298,000, which is 4% less than the same time period last year. So translate that a little bit differently. Condos cost less this year, 4% less this year. Now, the absorption rate or the supply of inventory, which again, if you take the absorption rate, is if you take the rate in which properties come on the market for sale and the rate in which they go off the market as sold, how long will it take to sell all of the inventory currently on the market? 6 months is normal. Condominium market is at 77 months. All right, let's move into the residential area for the Crystal Coast area. We have 3,180 properties for sale this year. That's 1% more than the same time period last year. We have sold 519 homes along the Crystal Coast this year. That is 21% less than the same time period last year. The average sold price of a home in the Crystal Coast area this year, 2008, is $255,000, which is 1% less than the same time period last year. And the absorption rate or the supply of inventory that we have in the residential area sector of the Crystal Coast, 32 months. We have a 32-month supply of inventory. Now let's move over into the Neuse River area. The Neuse River area, there's 1,585 properties have been for sale this year. The numbers sold have been 646 properties sold this year. So you can see that's much greater than what we've sold along the Crystal Coast at 519. But sales are down 29% along the Neuse River multiple listing service. Average sold price, $203,000, and their supply of homes is just 13 months. So we have a 32-month supply of homes in the Crystal Coast area and just a 13-month supply in the Neuse River area, which the Neuse River area is Pamlico County, Craven County, and part of Jones County. Now, let's get into some specific cities, and this is where you really start seeing some great extremes happening. In the Atlantic Beach area, the average sold price of an Atlantic Beach residential property is $712,000, which is 1% less than the same time period last year. Sales, though, are down by 44% in Atlantic Beach. Emerald Isle, the average sold price is $553,000, which is 9% less than the same time period last year. Sales are down 42%. Morehead City, the average sold price is $337,000, which is 21% more than the same time period last year. Sales are down 26%. Beaufort, $305,000 average sold price, which is 13% more than the same time period last year. Sales are down 40%. Newport, average sold price $179,000, which is 9% less than the same time period last year. Sales are down 25%. And Swansboro, $287,000 is the average sold price, 3% less than what it was last year. Sales are off by 21%. Let's move over into the Neuse River area. New Bern, city limits, $156,000 average sold price, which is 8% less than the same time period last year. Sales are down by 40%. Trent Woods, average sold price, $351,000, which is 27% more than the same time period last year. Sales are down by 42%. Fairfield Harbor, $261,000 average sold price, which is just 3% more than the same time period last year. Sales are down by 32%. River Bend, that's one of the areas I've been telling folks to pay attention to. Average sold price, $203,000, which is 3% less than the same time period last year. Sales are off by 15%. Bryce's Creek, $260,000, which is 12% less than the same time period last year. Sales are down by 20%. And then Taberna, Average sold price in Taberna, $326,000, which is 13% less than the same time period last year, but sales are up by 12%. And wanted to highlight the best in terms of sales, where sales are happening along the Crystal Coast area, where they're happening the most. We have a three-way tie for the areas that are doing best in the sales department, and that's Cape Carteret in the down east area of the Crystal Coast, also Highway 24. Their sales are just off by 4% this year, and the worst place is Cedar Point, and that's off by 46% over last year. Something I found very interesting, where the sales are occurring, at what price range. The price range, 20% of all sales so far this year of residential properties along the Crystal Coast have been $299,000 or more. In the $199,000 to the $299,000 range, that's 25% of all sales, but a whopping 48% of all sales along the Crystal Coast have occurred in between the $120,000 and the $199,000 price range, which just goes to show you where the market is, which goes to show you where, although you think of the Crystal Coast as a very expensive place to live, which of course you can find some very expensive places to live along the Crystal Coast, the bulk, almost half of all sales are occurring between that $120,000 and $199,000 price range. And last but not least, this is just one of those facts that I found very, very interesting. We're along the coast. We're at the beach. We all know that during the wintertime, the beach is a cold, desolate place. We all know that during the summertime, it's a warm, bustling place. So you would think that sales would correspond to that activity. Actually, no. If you take a look, first quarter sales along the Crystal Coast, that's where 23% of all real estate sales occur. In the second quarter, 30% of all sales occur there. Third quarter, 27% of all real estate sales happen then. And in the fourth quarter, it's 21%. And if we broke it down into the monthly, you would find that March and October are the two spike months along the Crystal Coast for sales. And believe it or not, one of the worst times, a great decline for real estate sales, is during the month of July. Again, you can go to crystalcoastrealestatetv.com right here. You can watch the market trends. You can watch the TV show. You can get all the local news about real estate as well as the national news. I'm Bill Hitchcock for Crystal Coast Real Estate Television. We're going to commercial break. Don't go away. There's plenty more of the program when we come back.